everybody, and good morning. Welcome to our first Twitch live stream for my intro psych classes that started on Monday. My name is Elisa Setmire, and this is Twitch. Before I say much more, can you all hear me and see me okay? Can somebody let me know in the chat if everything is coming through all right on your end, just to make sure? It all looks good on my end, but I'm not sure. So the chat is the best way to communicate with me through this whole thing. You can put like a yes or a thumbs up if you have an opportunity. Okay, great. Okay, good, good, good. Sometimes the internet doesn't cooperate, so I'm so glad that it's working. But good morning and welcome. I hope everyone is doing well as we get into our first week of the fall semester. What I want to do today is kind of go through our course website, go through the syllabus, show you the Psyched ebook, kind of go through everything and make sure that you're feeling good about the class. This will obviously be recorded and posted later for those of you who maybe can't make it live. That's totally fine. Since it's an online class, there's no required meeting times. But if you have any questions as we go through this is a wonderful chance to ask me in real time. So feel free to put them in the chat. So this is our course homepage on Canvas. And so if you can make it here, you should be in really good shape. This is a good place to begin. Everything's either here or linked on here to a different site. So what I want to do is just kind of walk you through it. And I'm going to talk more today than I will any other day. This one will maybe be about like 40 minutes or so. Typically, these live streams will only run about 20 minutes. But I do want to make sure you're feeling good about the class. And so again, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So this is the homepage. A really good place to start is where it says start here. You can see my contact information, help and campus resources, course documents and videos, and then each of the 8 different weeks that we have. I'm going to click on modules just so I can go through the syllabus first. But first thing to do is probably read through the syllabus. And I'm not going to cover every little bit of it, but I do want to make sure that you know what to expect, how to get a hold of me, all that kind of stuff. So here's all the course information. My name is Elisa Setmire. You can call me Elisa. You can call me Professor Setmire. Dr. Setmire is a lie, but it's a nice lie, I suppose, if you had to lie. But most people call me Setmire or Elisa or Professor Setmire. The best way to get a hold of me is always going to be email. So check my email constantly. I'm not in my office a whole lot at school. So if you ever have a question or need something, email me. It's always going to be the fastest way to go. There's some stuff here about the department chair, the dean, the division office, if you need it, followed by a little description and objectives and outcomes. I'm going to let you look over all of that on your own so that we can spend a little bit more time talking about the book. And I've had a couple of emails from you, so I want to kind of go over this. So there are 2 required textbooks for this class, and unfortunately you do need to purchase them. Without the books, you can't take the exams, which means you won't be able to do well and pass the class. So really important, if you haven't already purchased the books, make sure that you do that as soon as possible. There is a deadline tonight for a little quiz in the Psyched book, so you're going to want to get those right away. If you click on this link right here, I have the instructions for purchasing, registering, and accessing the books. But it's a self-care book, which is kind of like a little side book, and then Psyched, which is our main textbook. So if you click on that link right there, it'll bring up a page that's going to remind you that Psyched is the main book. That's where you're going to take all your quizzes. That's where the chapters are. Self-care is just a little small book that you'll be reading later in the class, and it'll help you with a specific assignment. There's a link right here. In order to purchase them, you have to buy them directly from the publisher, and they come as a bundle. So when you purchase the books, you're going to get 2 emails, one for Psyched directly from Kendall Hunt, and then one for self-care from Vital Source. So make sure you register both textbooks, get them set and ready to go. Hold on to that login information for self-care because you might not be using that right away. But you should get 2 separate emails when you do it. And they are a bundle, and I know that it seems expensive. It's $110 for the 2 books together. But that's actually really, really affordable. The average intro psych book is like $280, $300. So this is for 2 different books. I hope that you're able to get them today, get them registered, and get going. So that is kind of probably the first thing to do if you haven't done that already. And I have all that information linked right here on the syllabus and also in another document that I'll show you in a moment. You'll obviously also want access to Canvas. You're going to need access to the internet, and it might not be a bad idea to have access to Twitch since we'll be doing a lot of these live streams on Twitch each week. There's some computer and system stuff. If your computer is working and has good internet access and all those kind of recent things, you should be just fine. I have a couple of like troubleshooting pages I can show you later, just in case. Some codes of conduct, policies, and campus policies. I know that we aren't meeting in person, but I still want this to be a really like safe and inclusive learning environment. We are going to be interacting on here and through the discussions, and so let's always just try to be mindful of each other's backgrounds, be respectful in the things that you say with each other, and make sure that everybody feels safe communicating and participating as part of our class. I am really, really big on deadlines. I'm just going to be really honest with you when it comes to that. The way that this class is set up is you have access to 2 weeks of materials at a time. And so you have a lot of flexibility in that if you know that next week's going to be really busy, you could work on stuff this week or vice versa. But once the deadlines pass, I don't accept materials late, right? So the only exception is if you reach out to me before the deadline. So if you have an emergency sometime this week or next week, email me, talk to me. If you reach out to me before a deadline, I will do everything in my power to work with you. If you reach out to me 2 minutes after a deadline, it's sadly going to be too late. So that's kind of my one hard rule, just to make sure that you are very aware of it. If you ever need more time or something comes up, please make sure to reach out to me before the deadline. I won't accept anything beyond it. Please don't copy or cheat. Give me all your own beautiful creative work. I know it's so easy to use like AI and ChatGPT and all that stuff, but there are some pretty strict policies and consequences for using them. So please just give me all your own beautiful work. I look forward to reading your thoughts throughout the semester. There's some stuff here about some campus policies that I included for you to look over. The grade in the class will be made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things. So the first one is due tonight. It's that mandatory orientation quiz. I'll show you where you can find that and what that looks like in a few minutes here. A big part of your grade is made up of discussions. So every single week you'll have 2 discussions that you're responsible for. These are worth up to 15 points, 13 for your responses to my questions, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. And we'll take a look at the first discussions that are due for this first week in a little bit. You'll have a couple of little self-assessments that will allow you to reflect on your progress and growth in the class so far. Those will be worth 5 points each. You'll have a self-care and mindfulness assignment that's related to that self-care book that will be due in the final 2 weeks of the class, along with a closing assignment that will be reflecting back over the semester that we've had, and then 4 exams. And those exams will be taken on the ebook site, which I'll show you in a little bit. There were 75 points each. You get all of access to your notes, the book, anything that you have at your disposal, but you'll definitely want to study and prepare. So we have our first exam next week. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we meet next week. So if you want to check if you've done the mandatory orientation quiz, on the ebook site, which we'll get to in a bit, there's a gradebook feature up there, and you can click on it and it will show you your score. If you don't have a score on there, then you haven't completed it. So that's a really great way for you to check. I have over 100 students between these 2 classes, so I can't share that here, but if you look on the ebook site, you can check the gradebook for your score. One thing to note, the ebook site materials don't come over to Canvas automatically. So once the deadlines have passed, I will bring your scores over. But if you don't see it in Canvas, don't panic. That's just, there isn't that link between the 2, sadly. That would be so nice, but it's not there yet. You can see the distribution here for grades. So everything is just based off of points. So you can see how many points you need for each letter grade. If you have a memo with access, several of you have already given me your memos. They've been emailed to me. But if you have a memo, make sure you get it to me so I can get you all set up with extra time or whatever accommodations you might need. There's some stuff here about student tech support and college information, just a bunch of links if you need some extra help or you're looking for some student service or college information kind of stuff. And then after that, it's just the schedule of our class. So you can see weeks 1 and 2 is where we are right now. So you can see the deadline, all the materials you'll be reading, everything that's due, including the orientation quiz by tonight. And then everything else will be due by the 24th. So 2 weeks open for you at any given time. And then our class officially ends on Friday, October 3rd. Little different that it's a Friday that week. I'll remind you a million times when we get closer. But here's our schedule that you can kind of follow along with. I also send out weekly announcements to remind you. So hopefully that will be really helpful as well. So I went through that kind of quickly, but make sure you look over the syllabus. It is a really good resource. I sent out a little welcome letter last week, and I have that right here if you want to read it. There's more about how to purchase, register, and access the book, samples for the discussion, a little video overview if you still need some help. I put together all the frequently asked questions that people tend to have right here. So if you have a question, it's probably in here. So you could always double check that. I made a little student discussion lounge. So if you'd like to be able to talk to each other, this is a great place to be able to do that if you want to like ask and answer questions with each other. There's a little bit here about how to find me on Twitch and YouTube. I use a lot of technology for our class, so I'll be using Twitch for our live streams, and I post most of our videos on YouTube so that you can watch them anywhere. Really good idea to find me on YouTube and Twitch. And if you can subscribe on both of them, I think it makes it easier for you, especially on Twitch for these live streams. I'll say a little bit more about that later. There's some technology help, a Canvas orientation, just a bunch of resources for you should you need them. And then we get to the mandatory orientation lecture and quiz and kind of the stuff before week number 1. So let's look at the orientation lecture together and just kind of take a look. What I want you to notice about this is it follows this 5-tab format. And every single lecture will have that same format. So make sure you click on all the different tabs to get all the information. You'll see at the top of each page is a title and some audio. I have recorded all of these. If you would like to listen to it, if you miss the sound of my voice, you can always listen to the lecture instead of reading through it. Totally up to you. But you can see on this first page just some instructions. What you'll want to do is read or listen to all these pages, read through the syllabus, complete the mandatory orientation quiz, which I'll show you in a bit, and then find me on YouTube and Twitch, as I just mentioned. So YouTube, I think a lot of you are probably pretty familiar with that, but find me on there and subscribe so that you get notifications of all my videos. But Twitch is the one that I think throws people. I wanted to do something that was kind of like popular and pop culture, but I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it. So I have step-by-step instructions on here about how to find me on Twitch. You can subscribe on there for free if you have Amazon. And there's also some links. If you don't have Amazon, there's a free student Prime that you can sign up for. So you shouldn't need to pay for this. You just have to renew it every 30 days, but it should be completely free for you to do. And by subscribing on Twitch, what you'll notice if I go back over here is you'll see that you have like a little football cake next to your name, the little Twitch crown and the football cake, that means you're set. So if you see that next to your name in the chat, then you know that you're all good there. But the advantage of that is if you can't make it to these live, there will be a recording posted and you can still answer the questions for extra credit if you are subscribed on Twitch. You can also get less ads. You get the little cake and you can privately talk to me during the streams if you want. The little football kick next to your name is my favorite part, but it also really selfishly saves me an incredible amount of time. It takes a lot of time for me to match your names to your Twitch name. If you're subscribed, I can just download that list. So I really appreciate those of you who have figured that out. If you haven't done it yet, please take a few minutes today to try and figure it out so you're all set. The second page here is all about how the course is organized. As I mentioned earlier, it's organized around 2 weeks at a time. And each week you'll have a couple of things to do. So you'll have 2 chapters every week that you'll be reading in the textbook, reading the lectures, watching the lecture videos. I have all of that and I'll show you that more in a moment. You'll do 2 discussions every week. And then every second week you'll have an exam. And then there'll be a couple of like little assignments that are sprinkled in there as well. So the way that it'll work is every Monday morning, every 2 weeks on Monday morning, Those 2 weeks will open up and then they'll close Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So just something to be mindful of. Again, remember that once the 2 weeks close, they're gone. So just be really, really mindful of the deadlines and you should be just fine. There's a little bit here about myself, just in case you would like to know more. I'm a big football fan. I love escape rooms. I love the holidays. I'm already decorated for Halloween, so happy back to school Halloween, everybody. I definitely love the holidays, and I love food and a couple of shows I put in here. I have a bunch of cats that may or may not make it into these live streams sometimes. If they come anywhere near me, I will grab them, but I think they've learned to stay far away, sadly. The next page is all about computer and internet stuff. If you're struggling with the internet, here's some suggestions. And the last page is all about help. Right, so if you struggle with accessing Canvas, I have a phone number. If you're struggling with ordering your textbook or accessing your textbook, there's an email and phone number there. When in doubt, you can always email me. I am here. I check my email a lot. So if you're confused, feel free to email me or you can ask questions during these live streams. But I gave you some resources here if you should need a little bit of help. So once you've read through the entire lecture, if you're ready, you can go take the quiz. And so let's go take a look at the ebook site. You won't be able to access this site, which looks like this, until you have purchased those books. So again, that's really like the first line of action for you. But here's our main textbook. So this is Psyched. And you'll notice I did write it, which I'm very excited and proud of. But that also allowed me to keep the price really low, which I was very happy about as well. But here's the homepage. There's a little video here if you'd like some more information. The chapters that you'll be reading are all on here as well. So if you click on chapters, it will open up a tab that shows you all of the chapters that you should be reading. Every week, 2 of these are assigned, so you should be reading them on here. So let's say you click on chapter 1, for example. It will take you to that first chapter. You can see the outline and the objectives. There's a little summary and then the chapter, and all the ones in bold are the key terms that you'll need to know. There's a bunch of little boxes on here of like kind of relevant and important information, truths and myths, in pop culture connections. There's always a link to a video that's related and then some application. And then finally at the bottom are all the key terms for the chapter. So make sure that you are reading all the chapters on here. That's where you can find them all. You should be reading those each week. There's some kind of additional resources that may or may not be relevant. There's a few things like little quiz yourself activities, some flashcards. If you want copies of the PowerPoint slides, they're on here. Mostly what you'll be using this website for are all the chapters, like it says chapters here. And then all of the exams are on here as well. So this is where you're going to take that mandatory orientation quiz and also exams 1 through 4. And what I want you to notice is that with each one, there's like some instructions and then a spot where it says begin your attempt. So let's take a look at the mandatory orientation quiz on here. And then similarly, when we talk about exam number 1 next week, I'll show you where to find that, but it's right here if you scroll down just a little bit more. So for the mandatory orientation quiz, once you've read through the syllabus and you've read through the mandatory orientation lecture, you can take this quiz. And I have the instructions here. You have 15 minutes. You only get 1 attempt, so make sure that you're ready and organized before you begin. Make sure you have good internet and a quiet place to take your time on the exam. You can use your notes. You can use your book. This one's mainly, as I said, based on the syllabus and that orientation lecture. And don't forget to also save all of your answers and be really mindful of the clock. So you have 15 minutes, and what's going to happen is the second you hit begin your attempt, it's going to open up the quiz. And there's this little clock up here at the top that will kind of slowly backtrack from the time limit. So just make sure that you submit it before that, as it will stop you wherever you are at. So you can see this one has 10 questions. And like this one, the best way to contact your instructors through email. So you'll select true and then save answer, right? And notice how now it's like an orange gold color. That means that you've saved your answer, that you're set. Let's say you don't know the answer to this one. You could skip it and go ahead. This class will be entirely online. True, save answer, right? And so you want to make sure that everything is saved in orange. And as soon as you're done, you'll hit I am finished, submit for a grade. Now, it'll remind you, like, are you sure? Hit submit, and you will get a score instantly. So see right here how it says I got 2 out of 10. I got a shameful 2 out of 10, but I did only attempt 2, so I guess that's okay, hopefully. And remember that your score does not come over automatically to Canvas. So just if you don't see it on Canvas, don't worry. I will bring them over after the deadline has passed. You can always go up to the very top up here where it says gradebook, like the one person asked a minute ago. If you click on gradebook, it'll show you your score as like a temporary register of it. And then I'll be bringing those over to Canvas probably tomorrow since the deadline is tonight. So here's where you can take that little orientation quiz. If you're in Canvas and you click on orientation quiz right here, it will tell you basically like it's on the ebook site. So here's a link to the purchase the book. Here's the website, right? So if you forget where it is and you click on that assignment, it will remind you to come here to that ebook site. So the ebook, our main book, as I said, is Psyched. And then there's also that little side book of self-care that you'll be using later in the semester. Okay. Are there any questions about anything so far? Anyone have any questions or thoughts? If you do, you could put them in the chat. There's about 25 of you or so in here with me. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll answer them. And if not, I'll keep going and I'll have another opportunity for questions at the end. But this is where you start. So you did the lecture, hopefully you did the quiz. There's a little introductions discussion just to help me get to know all of you a little bit. And then you'll notice it opens right up to weeks 1 and 2. Okay, so week 1 and 2 are open. They will close on August 24th at 11:59 p.m. So Sunday the 24th at 11:59 p.m. And you'll notice this week, so we're in week 1, so that's what I'm going to focus on is week number 1. And then next week when we meet, I will focus on week 2, which will include that first exam. So for this week, you're in charge of reading chapter 1 and 2. And for each chapter, you're going to want to do 3 things. My kids make fun of me for the way I hold up 3, but 3 things. So 1, you'll read the chapter in the ebook. Remember, that's on the Psyched ebook page where it says chapters up here at the top. Number 2, you'll read the lecture. Okay, so I've made a lecture for each chapter and it follows that same format as the mandatory orientation quiz. So we have objectives and summary, beyond the book, in pop culture, key terms, and application. Every lecture will follow that same format, and every lecture will have a recording at the top. So page 1 is of the objectives and summary. Page 2 is beyond the book. Like here are some interesting things beyond the book. As a side note, anytime I give you a video or a link, watch it, click on it. All of it is meant to kind of help you understand the materials. In pop culture, these are things in popular culture that connect to this topic. So if you ever have a fun suggestion, let me know. But I just have some popular like shows or journals or magazines or movies, things that connect to pop culture. The 4th page is key terms. These are the terms from this chapter that you need to know for the exam. And then the last page is application. Now that I've read this, how could I apply it to my life in some way? So for each chapter, you're going to want to make sure that you click on all the links, read through all of that. That's the lecture. And then there's also a lecture video, which is me lecturing to some PowerPoint slides. These are typically like 15 to 25 minutes. You might want to take notes, right? These are things that are going to be on the exam. And I tried to post all of them on YouTube so that you could watch them from anywhere just to make it a little more convenient. But those are the 3 things with every chapter. Read the chapter in the book, read the lecture, and watch the lecture video. If someone said, if we can't make the live streams, can we watch them later and get extra credit? Yes. So the caveat to that is you do need to be subscribed on Twitch. So you can either join me live and I'll be giving you a question. I'll show you how you answer it right here to get those points. Or if you're watching this later as a recording and you're subscribed on Twitch, you can still get those points by answering the question. It's the only way I can really track that you did it. So if you're joining me live, you don't need to worry about the subscription other than it does save me time. So if you can figure it out, fantastic. But if you're watching this later as a recording, which I imagine a lot of you will, since you're probably working and taking classes, just make sure you follow the instructions on how to find me and subscribe on Twitch for free. And then you can still answer the question here to get extra credit. Okay. How do you whisper on Twitch? So there's a spot where you can send a private message, right? Or you can just put it in here in the chat and then I'll get it. But you can send it to me as like a private message if you're subscribed, which you don't have the thing next to your name. So I can tell that you're not yet. But if you do that, that is one of the benefits of having the subscription. And again, if you go up, here's that page on how to do this. So subscribing to my Twitch and YouTube channels. I gave you step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe on Twitch because I know a lot of you probably aren't familiar. So here is like the step-by-step instructions. I showed you how to do and even a video at the end, which hopefully will be helpful as well. Okay, so if you're not sure how to find me on there, here's how to do that. I think most of you are probably familiar with YouTube, but Twitch is a little more obscure. Okay, so for example, again, back to week 1. So for each chapter, do those 3 things. So read chapter 1, read the lecture, watch the lecture video. Read chapter 2, read the lecture, watch the lecture video. And then you have 2 discussions. And you'll see every week there's an optional Twitch extra credit. Now these are worth 2 points each, which adds up to 16 points if you do each one of them. So the big advantage to that is, let's say you miss a discussion, you miss a few points off the exam. That's really going to help. It just gets added to your grade. So every live stream, I will give you a question toward the end, and this is where you'll go to answer it. I'll show you that in a moment. So definitely a big advantage. And here's where I'll post the recordings when we're done. Sometimes it takes me a couple hours to like upload it and download it, but you will see the recording posted here to watch later if you can't make it live. And look, somebody just figured it out. That's fantastic. You're welcome to figure it out while we're talking. But thank you. Again, it saves me a lot of time and I think it gives you more flexibility on your end as well. So 2 discussions every week. Let's take a look at the discussions because we haven't talked about those yet. So discussion 1 is going to be related to chapter 1. And you'll notice with the discussions, they follow a very similar format. You'll have my instructions, followed by a video, followed by the prompt. Okay, and every single one will look that way. I'm really big on consistency. I think it makes online classes much more clear and easy to understand. So for the discussions, you're going to watch my little introduction video. And I'm sorry, some of them are a little older. You can laugh at my different hairstyle that I had, right? Some of them are old. But you'll watch the little video and then you're going to respond to my prompt. Make sure you are detailed in your responses. Think about these like little mini papers. It's your chance to show off your knowledge and understanding of the materials, right? So give me a lot, really elaborate, show off your knowledge and understanding. And then you're also going to respond to one of your classmates to get those 2 points. So altogether, the discussions are worth 15 points each. It's a big part of your grade. I gave you a little rubric and sample here if you'd like to look at it. And the videos, I tried to give you a little bit more about the prompt just to help you out and give you some tips. So here's the prompt for week number 1. You can see the questions that are right here. This one's related to chapter 1. When you're ready, you'll hit reply, and that's going to bring up a little box where you can type your response and hit post. You're also going to want to make sure that you reply to a classmate. So notice how like James did his post. Let's say I really like what he had to say. I could hit reply, or to Karina. So don't forget to also do that 2-point reply. Those points will add up. So you want to make sure you're getting them, and they're kind of an easy 2 points to get as well. Okay. So that's discussion number 1. If we go back, here's discussion number 2. Okay, so just like the last one, you have your prompt or instructions at the top, followed by a video, followed by the prompt. Okay, so again, you'll want to make sure you watch the videos. I tried to give you some tips and suggestions specific to the prompt. And then when you're ready to answer this, you'll hit reply. Nobody's done this one yet, but it's there whenever you're ready. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate. So every discussion is worth 15 points. 13 for your responses to mine, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. And if you would like to see a little sample, they're posted right here. Okay, so again, I'm going to focus on week 1 since that's where we are at. Next week when I meet with you, we'll talk about week number 2. I'll go over those discussions, that exam, show you how to take the test and give you some tips. So the only other thing that's on here is the extra credit. So at the end of every live stream, what I'll do is I'll give you a question. I'll copy and paste it into the chat. I'll give you some reminders and then that question, and then I'll show you how to answer that to get those points. So a couple of reminders for you. The first one, I had already typed this up, so I'm going to put it in here. Don't forget to figure out how to find me on those two platforms that we talked about, Twitch and YouTube. Also really, really important to get your copy of the book. That mandatory orientation quiz is due by tonight, so you want to make sure that you have that set and registered and ready to go. The other reminder that I have for you, and I'll put this here in the chat. Our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, August 20th at 11:45 a.m. So unless something changes, we'll do our live streams every Wednesday at 11:45, technology willing, and if everything cooperates. And so that will be our next one next week. And again, we'll focus on week number 2 with the exam and the discussions and everything next week. And so the last thing that I will give to you, and then I'll see if you have any questions, is to give you the extra credit question and show you how to answer that. So I wrote it out already. Let me copy and paste that into the chat for you. So this is the week number 1 Twitch extra credit question. So this one's related to chapter 2. So I just put it in the chat. What does the phrase correlation versus causation mean? A correlation does not equal causation. Describe and give an example. So what does the phrase correlation does not equal correlation does not equal causation, sorry, mean, and give an example. And so when you're ready to answer that, you'll go back to Canvas. And each week there's an extra credit link, right? So since we're in week 1, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 1. And it's going to have the instructions on here in case you forget. But the way that you get these points is you answer the question and get it correct. And then you either join me live, or you're watching this later as a recording and you're subscribed so I can track your attendance on Twitch. So when you're ready, you'll hit start assignment up here at the top. And then it'll bring up a box where you can type your response. And when you're ready and done, you can hit submit. And it'll give you like a little burst of confetti. And this time it's like little trophy medals. There's always something random in the confetti. But I'll be grading these throughout the week. This is due by the end of these first 2 weeks, which is August 24th at 11:59 p.m. So again, really quickly, just to review, if you are wondering what to do from here, if you haven't already purchased your copies of the book, make sure you get that. Read through the syllabus, explore all these resources and links that I have for you on here. When you get your books, make sure that you register them so that you can access the page like this one, like the one that we went over. Then you'll take the mandatory orientation lecture and quiz and introductions discussion. And from there, then you can start on week number 1 and week number 2. Okay, so everything from weeks 1 and 2 will be open until the 24th. So you have 2 weeks to work on that. Okay, so I think I know there's kind of a lot of talking today in one like swoop, but if you have any questions, what I'll do for the last like 5 minutes or so is I'll hang out. You can put them in the chat and I'll be monitoring it, and I can show you whatever if you're still confused about something, or clarify or answer any questions you might have. If you're feeling good about everything, you can go ahead and go and get started on week number 1 and all those materials. But I will hang out for another like 5 minutes or so, and this is a great opportunity if you do have any questions to ask me in real time. So I appreciate all of you who joined me today. There's a lot of you in here, so thank you for being here. If you can't make these, again, remember they will be recorded. They just won't be up for like a couple of hours as it takes a little bit to upload them and download them. Okay, so I hope all of you have a really wonderful first week of the semester. Thank you again for joining me. I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself, but I will hang out for the next like 5 minutes or so if you do have any questions. Oops. So you sent an email to me that you were dropped. Yeah. So I saw your email. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I will send you an ad code later today so that you can get added back into the class. Yeah. If you don't pay for it within like 12 hours, they drop you really really quickly. So I think I saw that I had an email from you. I'll send it. I'll send it to you in the coming hours so you can add yourself back in. Yeah. Thank you as well. Thank you all for joining me. I'm still here. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And again, I can show you something if you're still confused about it or answer whatever. And you can always email me later if you think of something a little bit later on. Yeah, you're welcome. You too. So the extra credit answer. So what you want to do, right? If you go back to Canvas, so we're in week number 1. So you'll click on week 1 right here where it says optional Twitch extra credit number 1. Right. So when you click on that, it'll bring up a box at the top where you can hit begin attempt, and that's where you'll type in the response. So once you've done the reading and you know the answer to the question, which I put in the chat, you can just put it right there. That would be the spot to answer it in order to get those points. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I'll hang out for another minute or two if anyone has any other questions. Otherwise, again, we'll have a meeting next week, and you're always welcome to email me if you think of something later today.